Hello, everyone. Good morning, good day, good evening, depending from where you are watching African Hour. African Hour is a program dedicated to discussion about Africa, the world at large. We bring special guests to examine issues that concerns our continent. Today we will be focusing on Cameroun. Our guest brings perspective and stories worth listening. Again, African Hour has been on the air since 2000. It's my distinguished honor to welcome from the bottom of the mother continent in Pretoria, South Africa, Professor Azong. Professor Azong, you are welcome on African Hour. And from the bottom tip of Africa, right across the Atlantic Ocean to Alabama, the famous Tuskegee University, I would say the famous Black University here. Please welcome a regular guest on African Hour, Professor Bill Ndi. Professor Ndi, well,
Yes.
let me turn over to you to share your own experience and identify with our own brothers who are muted, who don't have these opportunities, because I believe that the more we share our pain and frustration, the more the people start understanding the Anglophone problem. That it is not just a slogan, it is what we have lived through for more than 60 years. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you very much. Before I even delve into telling my personal experience of oppression in Cameroon, it is not just personal to me as an individual. Mine goes as far back as my parents or my grandparents. But I'm not going to dwell on that. When we started, I mentioned the fact that I had been elected president of the Pan-African Writers Association. I would like to seize this opportunity and on your platform to invite those people who went to school in Yaoundé in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, when there was just the University of Yaoundé, who endured the trauma, some of whom are still traumatized, some of who ended up in the streets mad and insane, or even died prematurely. I am encouraging everybody alive to document their stories. Write the stories. We will help edit those stories, get them to the market for people to read, not because we want it as a tool of commerce or trade or propaganda, but because I strongly believe that if we don't tell our stories, others will tell the stories for us. And when they tell the stories for us, they might twist the stories and narrate it in ways that we don't like it. In rebutting Professor Azong, you said you laud Francophones who point out that the true lovers of Cameroon are Anglophones. I want to add my voice to that by saying this. Paul Biya, for 60-something years at the head of that country, cannot construct a clear sentence or cannot have a conversation for 5 minutes. If that is not bad faith, tell me what it is. Because he has the money, he has the wherewithal, he could recruit the best, even Harvard English professors, to be his one-on-one professors to teach him that English. He could come out of his office or out in one of his speeches and blow our minds with British, Australian, New Zealand, Canadian, or American English, and would be like, wow, we have one of the brightest presidents. But that does not seem to matter, because being an Anglophone is being a third or a fourth class citizen.
Just like others, they only want to use the English language to push their children to take our places around the world. That's why he sent all of them. They send their children to English speaking countries, and he sent his children to America here studying English.
Yes, I like how you interjected there, and I want to tell you my persecution. I'll just say a bit, because if I have to, we need like 3 or 4 sessions like this for my whole story to come out. But I just want to take my story very small, my time at the University of Yaoundé. I will talk about that. I'm not going to elaborate. Even there are things that I experienced in Yaoundé that I just will not want to dwell in it, because it will take us a lot of time. So I enrolled at the University of Yaoundé in 1986, just freshly minted with my GCE advanced levels from Lycée Bilingue des Sos. I call it Lycée Bilingue des Sos now, because there are many other Lycée Bilingues around Yaoundé, but at the time it was the only Lycée Bilingue in Yaoundé. So I have been privy to spend 2 years of my high school in Yaoundé, and I understood the system so well. I moved on and enrolled at the University of Yaoundé, and one of the first things I did was making sure I became a delegate, a student representative. And I did that because I understood that only Francophones were permitted in that circle. But most Francophones did not know they didn't know I was from the Southern Cameroon extraction. And now I'm a delegate. Come December, the stipend they used to give students, they would just withdraw that money, put it in money market. You come to school in September, they don't give you a dime. October, they don't give you a dime. November, they don't give you a dime. That's 3 months. They're trading with your money. And in December, they would handpick a few students to give them their stipend, which ironically they called grolo, a lump sum, right? But they would only give to a few. So many students who came from the provinces were starving. And as the delegate, I was in charge of, giving out food and taking the tickets in the restaurant. And as my peer, Professor Azong, rightly points out, the made anybody who was English speaking in Yaoundé, at the Yaoundé University, to feel less than a human. Everything that was bad was Anglophone. When they wanted to treat you as an idiot, Anglo.
Be afraid.
They wanted to treat you as an enemy, be afraid. L'ennemi dans la maison. What did they not say? So as a student representative, having grown up in Yaoundé and knowing the students who came from around Yaoundé and the center province, generally, I made sure that those children, for them to eat in the cafeteria, they gave their ticket, they had what it takes. But for those kids who came from the province, I gave them food for free. I made sure you came. You told me you were from the province with your proof or no proof. I already knew who was from the province and who was not. I would say, go take the food. You go and take the food. So when they knew this, they reported me to the bossa that I was an Anglophone and was giving food to Anglophones in the refectory or in the cafeteria without taking the ticket. So my problem in Yaoundé, it multiplied to the point where after graduation, even before graduation, we had traveled and spent our time abroad because we did the bilingual studies. On my way back, they would not allow us to travel with our things. Single-handedly, I picked one of my colleagues. I reserved his name. We actually went to the Cameroonian embassy in Paris, and I took the ambassador hostage, that he had to do something to make sure we traveled back to Cameroon. That was done. But hardly did I know that he had done that and had sent a wire to Cameroon, that I was the problem. So the plane landed, everybody, they pushed us to the custom house, and I argued at the custom house. I said, no, these kids are all students. They have to go. They are not paying any dime for custom duty. They let all of them go. And I was retained. So when I was retained, I thought it was just a joke. There was a certain commissioner, I could call one of his names. He was Commissaire Mbida. Whether he's alive or not, whether he watches this or not, I really don't care. Because he came after I'd been detained. I've been left from the custom house to go. And then a number of police officers and gendarmes, they circled me, and they will not let me go. And then Bida shows up. He had what we call two rope slippers. That's flip-flops. He shows up, and they were saying, voilà, monsieur le commissaire. I'm looking at the guy and said, really? This is the commissioner dressed so haggardly like this? I don't think so. You just want to scam me. I'm not going to let that happen. So Bida listened and said, okay, you go. I'll be expecting you at the set. That is Direction de Sécurité Générale, DGSE. That he was expecting me there at the police headquarters on Tuesday. I went there on Tuesday. I didn't see him. I just went me. I just said, well, I don't care. I want people to listen to this story very carefully. So as I learned, I never knew. I just got myself into into more trouble. I left that Tuesday, packed my things, and headed for Bamenda because I said, well, let me go and take some bragging rights. A son of the soil who just traveled to France, he's come back, he should be able to, walk in the streets of Bamenda, Commercial Avenue and things, and just let his friends know he's back. So I got to Bamenda on Friday at the 1 o'clock news. It is announced that I am wanted, dead or alive.
Wow, that's serious.
Yes, I'm saying the footage is still there. People can still verify. It is on CRTV. That I was wanted, that I should show. Actually, they gave me 48 hours, right, to report, or it would be a wanted, dead or alive. That was the announcement. In 1 o'clock news, French news, I heard this. I'm like, wait a minute.
What did you do?
Did I do? They called my name on the radio. I bundled myself back straight to Yaoundé. On Monday, I showed up at that place. Before going, I told my elder sister I had to go there because of XYZ. So as soon as I showed up and I asked, they took me to his office. Mbida's instruction was for me to strip. First of all, I had a nice, decent suit like this one, right? That my elder brother in the US had sent to me while I was in Paris. I had donned it. I said, well, let me show up. And somebody respectable that he could say, well, you're a respectable gentleman. We can sit and talk like gentlemen, right? But as soon as he saw me, he said, take off those things. He had me to strip down to my boxers or to my pants, to my underpants, right? Then he told me to sit there on the floor by his door. I sat there, and this guy started sending a telefax to the presidency, straight to the president's desk. And what did I not hear? Maybe some of the French I'm speaking today is thanks to sitting to listen to him type that, because he used some of the big grandiloquent words I never thought existed in any language. That's the day I learned the word asphyxie, or again asphyxier, when he said, when he's telling Paul Biya that Paul Biya is working so hard to redress the economy, and scums like us are there asphyxiating the economy, that I brought more than 30 students at the airport and have them pass without paying custom duty, and that I'm a criminal. I am this, I am that, I am that. Let me pause here and say something I did at Yaoundé University before then that got me into the trouble that I was earmarked for all of this persecution. It was that I found at the university a bilingual club, which bilingual club was aimed at promoting, encouraging our French-speaking brothers to be bilingual. Today, I hear the bilingual club is part of UNESCO club. But I don't know if anybody belonging to that club knows who the founder was or what the founder went through. Because when I founded the bilingual club, I remember one journalist, I think it is Njomo Kevin, he had his show on Saturday, which was called the Dada Show, and he interviewed me about the club and why I created a bilingual club in a university that is bilingual and in a university or in a country that is bilingual. I said, no, look, the bilingualism is just in name. It is not bilingualism. I said, this is 1986, 87 we're talking about. And I told him, I want to believe Cameroun is bilingual. I want to believe Yaoundé University is bilingual. I want to believe if you have to lead in a bilingual country, you have to lead by example. And I asked the journalist, do you think the president of this country can hold a conversation in 5 minutes in English? I said, give him the opportunity to have a conversation with me in English in 5 minutes, and I'll give him 10 hours of conversation in French, making sure I make no mistakes and conscious of the fact that I am of the English-speaking extraction. So when I said this, that is when they said, élément dangereux à suivre de très près. So
dangerous element.
Yes. So back to the said story. I'm sitting there. At one point, he tells me to step out of his office and sit, but outside at the door. I step out and sit
naked.
At the door. Yes, I'm sitting at the door naked, so to speak. And I have 2 hometown boys who were, assistant superintendent of police, what you call officier de police. One of them, first of all, passed and saw me, and he said, wait a minute. He knows me, he knows my family, he knows I'm not the troublemaker to be in that position. He came up and said, brother, he called me William. He said, William, what are you doing here? What's the issue? This guy stretched his head out and saw this officier de police and told him, allez-vous-en. Va-t'en. Si vous restez là une seconde, s'ensuivrait des sanctions disciplinaires. Meaning, if you stay there one other second, I'm going to discipline you. Thank God, he did follow his orders. Today, if he's retired, he retired as a 6-star commissioner. Then, about an hour later, another homeboy came. He was a prince in his kingdom. And he knows me because his father, or his late father, grew up in my father's house. So he came and was asking the same question, and the commissioner came out and did the same. He left. So I had to spend 10 days at set, and what happened was I was lucky. My elder sister had a classmate of her. I don't want to call the name because even though somebody informed me he passed on, I'm not so certain, but I would have called his name. He was a 5-star commissioner, and he went to school he was classmates with my elder sister at St. Augustine. So my elder sister reached out to him and said, you know what, for this number of days, my younger brother was called by a certain commissioner by name this. I don't know what he did. He has not come back home ever since. So I don't know what is happening. So this commissioner, who was a 5-star commissioner, above the person who was keeping me, called the other commissioner and asked him what was happening. They talk. He said, all right, this kid is my brother and I am taking him out of here. So they went and brought my suit that they had wrapped in a plastic bag. It was all twisted, wrinkled like it came out of a dog's mouth. They gave me, I wore it, and this commissioner took me to his office and sat me in a little room in his office. I sat there. He did his work. At 6:30 in the evening, he told me, all right. He told his driver to use the back door to take me. They took me through the back door out. And I sat behind the Land Rover like Maker, right? In the Old Man and the Medal.
Well, that's a good part of the story.
So I sat behind this Land Rover, was driven to his home at Chinga. At Chinga, my elder sister was there already waiting. And so we went there. his wife had cooked. We had a sumptuous dinner. And after that sumptuous dinner, what happened is we drove to Efulan where we live. That year, I finished my degree without any problem, enrolled in a matrice, wrote my dissertation. Everything was like going by the book. And a jury was assigned just to listen to me, which is generally like if it has been approved for defense, it means you just have to make sure you prove that what you are writing is consistent with the academic evaluation that has already been given. So they had 4 Francophone professors. I will call their name, either to name and shame them, it doesn't matter, but they have to know what they put me through, because the 4 Francophone professors categorically denied that they will not sit to listen to an Anglophone defend a dissertation in French.
Because you wrote it in French?
Yes, because I wrote it in French, and that by writing in French, I was not only insulting them, I was trying to steal the place of a Francophone, so they will not allow me to defend it. The members of the jury were Jacques Famendon. He was the chief examiner and the person who raised the issue that he would not let that happen. The next was Ngijol Pierre, who was head of department of African literature. And the next was Ambroise Com, who was professor of African literature, and my supervisor was Nomo Marcelli. All 4 of them, even though Nomo had supervised it, Nomo now started telling me, I would like you to translate it into English so that I can allow you to defend. I said, I'm not going to do that. It is written in French. It has been approved. It must be defended as such. And they never let that be. So it was...
I just want to piggyback on this. They did not want you to defend it in French language, that you were taking a position of a Francophone.
Yes.
But they are flooding our schools and changing our educational system for the Francophones to usurp the identity of Anglophones within the country and outside, right?
Yes.
Let our brothers and Cameroonians know the politics at play, and that the power of the people is more important than the people in power. And the people in power will do everything to keep the power of the people ignorant of what they are doing.
Thank you. So this story, I say the story did not end there, because it continued, and it continues to pursue. It keeps coming up every time I have to do anything and they see the word Cameroon appended to my name. You would see many Francophones would say, no, he's not Cameroonian. They would want to challenge it. But all I have to say is that as a diaspora now, I can only tell those who underwent these ordeals like this is just one of the multiple ordeals. I know there is so much we could write about, so much we could talk about, but just listen to the continuation of this story. In 2011, there was...
Kondi, before
Yes.
you continue, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, please, you will list an email. You made a public request, which I believe is very, very vital for posterity, to collect the stories of people who went through your experience. And I think you said something very powerful. If you don't tell your story, someone else will define you, tell your story in their own liking. And I believe that the fundamental problems with us Africans is that we allow our stories to be told by those who define us and by those who control the media, because my observation is that he who controls the media controls the narrative, and when they control the narrative, tell your story, they define who you are in their own image. Again, you are listening to African Hour, coming to you from Boston, Massachusetts, and my name is Fru Nkimben, host and producer. Right now, we have reputable, renowned guest on the show, coming to you from the tip of South of Africa, from the bottom up in Pretoria, capital of South Africa, Professor Azong, and across the Atlantic at the University of Tuskegee is Professor Bill D. You have listened to their experiences, and I think it should also encourage and motivate our people. Because one thing that I've learned listening to news, world news, and learning from Jewish people is that they chronicle the atrocity done during the Holocaust so that it should never happen again. And I believe that we should learn from that. The stories that you are listening is just the tip of the iceberg. And if we don't tell these stories to our children and create posterity, these stories will just be lost, and our history will be incomplete without these stories. So, gentlemen of the knowledge, thank you for sharing your wisdom and sharing your knowledge to my audience. I think this, listening to each and every one of you, now brings to light what is known as the Anglophone problem. Prof, continue. We are winding down, and when you finish, I will ask each and every one of you to look at my audience and then give your closing remarks. Prof, over to you.
Thank you very much. I just wanted the audience to know one interesting detail about this refusal to have me defend my dissertation, because years later, a researcher came to Cameroun trying to research on all the dissertations that were written at the University of Yaoundé over the span of 30 years. And this researcher was fed information, including information about my dissertation, that it was one of the best dissertations ever defended. And the reason I didn't even disclose to the audience what the topic of the dissertation was. It was the quest for independence. It all had to do with the quest for independence. For the black man generally, how do we go about seeking our independence, being free, reading from what others had written and things like that? So this dissertation is listed or given to this researcher by the same person who said I should not defend Jacques Famendongo as one of the best dissertations ever defended. Now, I want to circle back and come to something we're talking about.
Before you go there, Prof, pose my ignorance here. Who is and who is now, where is now Famendongo?
Oh, look at this. Famendongo, I hear he is the Minister of Higher Education, and he had been there, I don't know, almost for 30 years. But here
that question with a reason, and you have explained it. He is the Minister of Higher Education. That explains the problem with our own educational system there.
That's it. So what I was trying to point out here is that in 2010, we had this same kind of conversation where, because we started talking about Atanganji trying to recant the fact that there is an Anglophone problem. And in 2010, we had a group called Cameroun Politics, in which we're discussing, and many Francophones came there and were bashing that there is nothing like an Anglophone problem. It is just imaginary. No Anglophone had ever suffered in Cameroun because he was Anglophone. So I had told this story. I did not tell the story in detail as I've told it now. I just said I know of an Anglophone who wrote a dissertation in 1990, and the dissertation was submitted for defense in August of 1990, and the defense was scheduled for September 15 of that year. But that Anglophone was not allowed because they claimed he was Anglophone, and the jury was only made up of Francophone professors. This guy went and did his research and discovered the story I just told about Famendongo. He's a journalist. He's called, his first name is Christophe. Let me not finish. Those in the journalistic field will know which Christophe I'm talking about. But he did an investigative piece of journalism and came back with a report to the forum that it is so true. And since I did not appear in that forum with my real names, he said the names of the person was this, and if the exactitude with which I gave that information, he is so sure that if that person is not a brother of mine, I am the person in question. Okay? Yeah. So I would leave it at this because the story did not end there. Even when I escaped, I ran away from the country after they chased me. I went to Nigeria, loved Nigeria. I had the scholarship, went to France. They still kept pursuing me. And it is thanks to that. Let me not say thanks to it, because when they kept pursuing me, in the end, when I showed up here, the information was already public knowledge to those people you know would have any information they want about anybody. And that's how they got to resettling me in the U.S. Thank you.
Well, I mean, like we said, if you are still in doubt that there is no Anglophone problem, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And many of our brothers and sisters' careers were destroyed. Their lives were destroyed, and they are still being destroyed. I remember even going down to Bamenda, would you believe, before 2016, along Commercial Avenue, you enter a store, and if you don't speak French, they will not even serve you in Bamenda. I think personally, for everything that we have achieved, that cannot happen again today. And that is a big victory and a big education to all of Cameroon, that we all are equal and even better than those who claim to govern us. We are wrapping up now, but as a closing remark, I really want you, before you go, look at my audience and give your closing remarks to them. Talk to them, because we are at a very critical part of our country, Cameroon, and also critical about our southern Cameroon and Ambazonia. We are in that piece of land, and we will live forever together as brothers and sisters across the Mongo and on both sides, because of the experiences that you have shared here, out of no fault of our own. Some of us out of the country are not privileged to go back and visit and see. So please, talk to our brothers. What you are saying now is equally, you are speaking for others that have worn your shoes. Professor Assam?
Thanks. It's really been an interesting conversation, and thanks, Prof. D. When one listens to those stories, one can basically relate to what you went through. And we've got so many other stories there, and the whole idea of putting this stories together, packaging them for our children, for everyone to really get to understand, have a very deep understanding of what we are facing in that part of the world. I think it's very important. Because, as some kind of closing remarks, the Southern Cameroon identity is not going to go away. Let nobody be fooled that the issue will by some miracle, some magic, vanish. It's about the people we're talking about. 5, 6, or 7 to 8 million people who have a unique identity, and somebody just wants to sit on us. It's a problem that is not going to go away. So let no individual who has abrogated themselves some artificial powers think that by climbing on the television, sitting on there and making some kind of utterances and threatening people, they will cause the issue to disappear, to vanish. It's not going to happen. So we are appealing to all the actors, to the powers that be, internal and external, that it is time for the actors to come together, sit together, look at the complex nature of the problem, define it. Let's talk as brothers and sisters. After all, if we have an independent southern Cameroon, it will have as neighbors La République du Cameroon. We will have to trade and talk and play soccer and carry out many other things with our neighbors. Let us sit together. Let us sit and talk about the issue and find a lasting solution to the problem. And to all our brothers and sisters who are in different sort of groupings, we all fighting the same thing. We are all in this together. We just have different perspectives. We have different approaches. We need to have channels of communication. We need to develop channels of communication between the different groupings so that we can craft the way forward and make and shorten the time our people have to suffer before we get the solutions that the solution that we want. To our Francophone brothers and sisters, Honorable Weber stood in Parliament and made a prophecy which has come to pass, that if you don't listen to the people of West Cameroon, Southern Cameroon, if you don't listen to them, this issue will bring down this country. And every day, every inch of time, we are getting closer to an implosion. We see it it's happening in other countries. We see it happening currently in Sudan. If we have some right-thinking people still existing in power, in authority, there is still time. Them to think rightly, let them put on their right-thinking cap, and probably can avert a more disastrous situation that may happen if things continue along the current trajectory. So let the powers, I call them the power grabbers in Yaoundé, let them sit together, appeal on their conscience, ask themselves, where are they driving this territory, these two territories? What is the destination? What's the end goal? What's the end game? Do they think that the 30 million Cameroonians of both extraction will dance to their tune? Do they generally think that people believe in what they are doing? Let them not be fooled, because when the day of reckoning will come, people will be running like rats being chased by a cat. That has happened to many other authoritarian regimes around the world. You have a chance. You still have some time. God has given you some time to do things right. That is, those would be my closing remarks. Thanks for having me. And for Papa and Mami, then for Southern Cameroon, Muna remains steadfast. We get strong institutions. I think my brother, Professor Ndi, he don't talk about our chieftaincy, governance structures for our region. Say, before white man one come, we be rule ourselves. We get our chieftain. We get our governance system. We even chief, you know, the rule well. Takumbung, Kwefong, they go deal with that ruler. So power, even for our traditional system, we don't always belong to the people. And Simona, keep that system jealous, because if things then go chakara, we see things that they only go worse. Now these institutions, they go save you now. Now these institutions, they go save you. Now these institutions, they go protect our mommy and papa. They mean they stick over farm chop. We were picking them go chop. So as the time them now, so that they look like time they go they strong, we will turn to those institutions. We will start organize ourselves. Say if they need the one chakara, be the not chakara for village, for place where you dey. Because say we don't say no, the chakara, you know, go rich. So for what people that were Southern Cameroons, now so we get for start already the organize ourselves. If people come say no, go vote, we don't vote for so many years. Lie vote them. You know, I give we anything. Now only we so organize ourselves. We see me what territory, me bad thing and not continue to happen for day. Thank you now. Thanks.
Professor Asso, coming from the mother continent, where all our navels are buried, and where we pray our hearts will go through. You mentioned something about Honorable Weber. Well, that one, it just make it remind me of that Francophone way say the people where they like, where they love Cameroon. Now, where they call, we say Anglophones. Dr. Wilbur, now courage, out of courage and out of love, we risk his own life, his own profession, and his sacrifice with the courage he stand inside that Senate. He give that prophetic message. Professor Ndi, now over to you. Talk to people and give them bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Pafru. You said, may I give you the email address? My email address, Dr. Bill, like DRBILLNDI at gmail.com. The title, Yaoundé University Stories. Thank you very much. Let me start by saying this as a closing remark. The current dispensation of the Cameroons as we know it is living its last days, and any other thing or any other venture, either through election or any corrupt political practices trying to keep people in power, is just the last kicks of a dying horse, and the horse will die. Cameroon, more than 30 years ago, I wrote a poem which I titled Baby Ambazonia. I will share the poem with you guys because that poem encapsulates my dream for the region, for the part of the country into which I was born, the part of the country in which my navel was buried, the part of the country whose air I breathe, even wherever I am. And this poem I titled Baby Ambazonia. The poem reads very simply. Was from time immemorial born, was through time and age grown. Was of the Federal Republic lured, and was of the United Republic dated. And by the La République killed, and in death tied to the skilled assassin, since gone in hiding, by his walls of soldiers and cannon, shielded, and by the whole white world greeted. Need not emphasize a true story, for all know and known thus war. Poor baby Ambazonia, from your ashes, rebirth is so near. For my belief in this myth has nothing of a heath. So wait when me at the talk for here, they blow all the big grandma them, mommy and papa them. Now say wait, say me una stay strong. May they not fool una. Say horse where they die the kick so. Say una 50 gear injection they go hook up. Even if they call that injection say na election, that election na corruption. Not be the one way go take una go anywhere. Not be the one way if he help una for any way. So may una shine una eye. May una shine una eye. May any man shine ye eye. No say how way it is so. For you for stand up for your 2 foot then. It means say you don't look sideways. You dey keep that foot. Topoto no day. Some man never shit where you go can stand on top. May begin to smell you. You stand for place where you want stand. You stand for place where you don't fiction use yourself a correct. May una no make foolish way people they make. People they carry their ground and sell them. I hear some story pass my power say Bamenda upstation in a francophone country. I said la foolish way una the foolish. You dey sell your ground, papa ground where your papa be believing for you. Buy trumpet. Who say you go stand up for blow? Person will sell you trumpet, he tell you say go want me blow that trumpet for corner of your house. Where you don't sell you the land. I say me we sharp eye, me we shine eye. I pray, say me we papa and we mommy them. We younger brother as we not grow. We not say for ground zero. The story na different story. But more we not say we too. We be don't taste on ground zero. We not the only talk na say how it is so. We the talk because we don't run come off a country. Everything be the same. Me I would like for them for country. When I think say me are there for outside here, so they take my brain, the waste time, they train other people they are picking. I say I don't like for train my brother them and my sister they are picking them. But when I take that power, where there for una hand, oh una no say how it is so. Una brother the way they out, they get their own contribution for make. Una leave them, may they come and help. More will build the country together. Now for there I go end this story. And I tell una say, mo una no dream. Say Cameroon never ever be one. it never ever be indivisible. Country be don't divide things. And if married not the work, and especially married when Anjumba married, when I leave the woman may go, or if not the man want go may come or go. For what he grow, time where he push truck from Quen Park. Anybody way doubt, I don't push truck. I be truck boy, I be motor boy. I sell cigar, I sell tomato for road, for market. I want tell when I say make La Republic carry fertilizer go, leave coffee may die. We'll see how coffee not go survive. Bye bye.
Professor Nji and Professor Azon. And I want for thank una way una dey watch we so for tell una say the talk way we dey talk so one for beg una say if we say something wey we mouth ikene una no like am una know say everything wey we dey talk it kind of from we heart. We dey talk na say may we move may we go before. So anything where you hear say we talk, you no like am, no take am badly. You find for throwaway na that thing. And right we send we information. Say I be here when I talk so the correct one na say I want for fix them. Na so it be day. And for you for send am, may you send am to African Hour 2023 at gmail.com. I want for thank everybody, thank una for una time. And I really want for thank my guest, Professor Azon from South Africa. I know say time you don't really day up for wait we thank you very much. And the message, your experience, it really sink for we heart. And I know say we brother some people that they identify with you. And the reason why we bring at the Africa Hour, the one say, maybe we can't share this story because if we know here and share our story, nobody know the story. Professor Ndi, I thank you very much. And I know if we end this discussion with me, I know thank Papa God because anything where it pass now because Papa God it agrees it pass. And for we country fashion. We start now for thank Papa God, one for Enam for Papa God the hand. And thank say for when they listen to all my audience all over the world. I want to use this wonderful opportunity to thank you for watching the program. And I'd like to thank Professor Azon coming to you from all the way from Pretoria in South Africa. You can see in honor of that beautiful country, I have this majestic regalia on my head. I don't know what it is called.
It is a crown.
No, I don't forget the name. Not Zulu Royals them.
Okay. So now I have this on my head to pay tribute to our Zulu kingdom, and on my chest covering my heart. This is really what you will call Bamenda, a close graphy, and it is the national traditional official wear of Cameroon. And with that pride in myself, carrying the African culture, tradition, regalia on myself, I want to say African Hour is the voice of Africa, bringing Africans to discuss things that contains particularly Africa and the world at large. Thank you very much for your time, and I hope we'll continue the discussion going. So long. May God bless African Hour. Thank you, and good night.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.